wanna join my free gift card giveaway? Wanna join my free gift card giveaway? Subscribe to my channel. Find like the video, comment section.
Sonic the Hedgehog. From the outside, this franchise looks like it's on top of the world, dominating the market. I mean, he has his own TV show, but on the inside, he isn't doing so well. Why is that? Today we're going to take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog series and see which games were the greats and which games were the utter failures. So let's start off with the basic history of the Sonic franchise. I know most of you already know the story and have watched a few videos on the same subject, so I'll spare you most of the details, but I'll keep the important parts. It was 1985. Nintendo was dominated the entire gaming market. They had titles like Super Mario and The Legend of Zelda. It was almost impossible to compete with them. Nintendo's games were so polished and well made, and they were endless fun. But Nintendo had what seemed like little competition at first, which turned into another powerhouse in the gaming market, and it was destined to rise above Nintendo. It was Sega. Sega wasn't doing so well in the 80s. They were trying to compete with Nintendo, and they just couldn't do it. So Sega realized they needed a mascot, somebody who could single-handedly save the entire company from complete and utter despair. They created Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the coolest characters to date. I mean, what was there not to love about Sonic? Sonic was cool, he was fast, he had a dark and a lighthearted comic series. It pleased everybody. Sega had finally stopped Nintendo where they stood and took their place as king in the gaming industry. However, it was a very short-lived victory, because Sega couldn't really think of any other great games to create. It was Sonic 1, and then the next year they made Sonic 2, and then Sonic CD, and then Sonic 3. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Granted, Sonic 3 and Knuckles were supposed to be the same game at first, but they couldn't do that because of restrictions. Anyway, they really couldn't do much after the Sonic era. It was all other experiments of games. And Sega just couldn't compete with Nintendo once again. And so, in the late 90s to the early 2000s, they had this great idea, and that idea was to reboot the Sonic franchise. The entire Sonic franchise rebooted into one game, and that game was Sonic Adventure. And my god, that game was great. It had everything. Then came Sonic Adventure 2, where they introduced everyone's favorite, Shadow. And of course, those two games single-handedly brought Sega up again. So, Sonic seems to be Sega's saving grace every time they're not doing so well. But then Sega had this great idea. They wanted to make a game, a spin-off game, about another character. And they were wondering who they would want to make it about. But then they picked Shadow out of all the other characters, and honestly it was for the best. They had options like Big the Cat and Tails. Honestly, Shadow was the best way to go. But they brought guns into the game, and the gameplay was just really, really awful and frustrating. And the story was just kind of cheesy, and Sonic stories have never been very high quality in the first place, but this was just bad. Granted, the cutscenes were super tight in the hole. Anyway, it was really odd to see a Sonic game with guns in it. Do you know what I mean?
He was created as the ultimate life form. Darker. Stronger. Faster and more dangerous. His name is Shadow.
So Sega's done everything they could again, and they weren't very successful at this point. So what do? They make yet another reboot of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. One of the worst games ever made. However, that's just the critics' view. Me, I really don't mind the game so much, but that's not the point. It was just another reboot, and it was really cheesy and bad. I can see why people don't like it. It was rushed, and it was gonna be another game, so it had a really messed up engine that just didn't work with Sonic. I mean, it was basically Sonic the Hedgehog with Grand Theft Auto physics. So here Sega is, out in the dirt, and they haven't made a good game in a while. It's been at least 7 years. But then, they make a great Sonic game. Finally, a great Sonic game. Sonic Colors. A beautiful game, which I've never played. I'm just taking the critics' word for it, because it's not for PC. PC Master Race, boy. Anyway, after that, they followed it up with Sonic Generations, another great game, which I own and I've played hours of, and I've modded it to the max. I love it so much. And then Sonic Lost World comes out, and no one really cares for it, but it's there. It's like the Sonic CD of our time. Like, it's just another filler game. And then Sonic Boom comes out and ruins it for all of us. The end. Sonic Boom. Fuck you. So, is this the end for Sonic? I don't think so. There are 2 new games coming out this year. Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania, which both look pretty promising, I have to say. I am really excited for Sonic Forces and what it has to offer, but then I'm really excited to go back to classic Sonic in Sonic Mania and play as Tails and Knuckles. It looks so good. So Sega, you really have something going here, a chance that you can't really take anymore. Please, for me and the rest of your fans, don't screw up this special thing you have here. So, now to answer the question of this video, does Sonic suck? Absolutely not. Sonic is a gaming icon and will always be a gaming icon. People will always remember what he used to be, even if he becomes something else. Because he holds a special place in my heart, and I'm sure he holds a special place in some of your hearts as well. Thank you for watching.